Everybody watching or listening to this podcast has spent 49 hours this week on their phones, according to stats. I could be in wormhole conspiracy theories on YouTube while you're trying to figure out how to fix your car. And my counterintuitive is Gen Z is in revival and retreat at the same time. Both things are happening. So we have this like false intimacy now. So I think what that does is it creates impatience. And it creates like almost an entitlement. Like, I'm one of your many followers. And almost this sense that you can go from 0 to 60 in 2.3 seconds in terms of your circle, your relationship, your book sales, etc. The other thing I would say, you know, talking about advice to leaders is
Hey everyone, and welcome to the All It Takes a Goal podcast. I've spent the last 15 years helping more than 1 million people achieve everything from their smallest first step to their wildest dreams. Building a remarkable life is simple. Great thoughts turn into great actions turn into great results. That's what we explore on this podcast. I'm your host, Jon Acuff, and today I'm talking with Carey Nieuwhof. Now, who is Carey Nieuwhof? I'm so glad you asked. Carey Nieuwhof is the best-selling author of I Didn't See It Coming, and At Your Best, How to Get Time, Energy, and Priorities Working in Your Favor. He's an in-demand speaker, former attorney, and host of one of today's most influential leadership podcasts. I've been on it multiple times, and it's fantastic. His podcast, blog, and online content for leaders is accessed over 1.5 million times each month. He speaks to leaders around the world about leadership, change, and personal growth. Carey and his wife, Tony, live north of Toronto. For more information, visit careynieuwhof.com. But I can't wait for you to hear this interview. You are going to love this one. We go so many different places. If you're a leader or want to be a leader, if you want to start a podcast, if you don't like plastic forks, there's a bit of a cliffhanger. What is that going to be about? You are going to love this episode. Join me for this conversation with Carey Nieuwhof. Carey, thank you so much for joining me today. I was really looking forward to this.
John, I always love hanging out with you. Thanks. And in your new digs, this is great.
Yeah,
man.
It's been fun. This is
last year I was at your house, and this year it's like
upgrade.
International headquarters.
A year from now, we'll probably be on a helipad.
I think so. You'll just port me in.
On the back of a yacht. Like the real goal is I want to fly one vehicle and land on a different one and make life as difficult as possible. No, Carey, we've been friends. I think we were talking about it the other night.
Yeah.
For 12, 13, 14 years now.
Yeah, it's got to be. It's well over a decade.
Yeah.
Coming on 15. I'll tell you, I love it, man. We've been through a lot of different seasons.
I mean,
you've been doing the same thing, but, you know, switching your strategy and like going from, like, I've just seen you build a career in a way that is breathtaking. I always tell people, man, nobody works harder on their craft than Jon Acuff.
Oh, I appreciate that.
Like, you really do. Like, when you get a client call, you never phone it in. You're there, you're dialed in, like, you're working on it.
I appreciate that. And it's been fun. We talk probably every 3 weeks, and we'll spend 30 minutes to 60 minutes kind of breaking down what our businesses are doing, what we're excited about, what's the challenge. I'm curious, from your point of view, when did that kind of conversation start? Where you as a leader said, okay, I need to be in active relationship with other people that are doing challenging things too, so that I don't get isolated and so that I get a bunch of different ideas?
Early for me. I started in leadership, like in the church world, 1995, and I immediately was like, wow, I want to reach more people. I don't know how to do this. I was supposed to be an attorney. Here I am as a pastor. I don't have any skills.
That's not the route most people take.
Right. Exactly. Downward mobility. I should write a book on that.
Yeah, it's the wrong way as far as money's concerned.
Exactly. It's like career trajectory. Yeah. So, I remember trying to get around anybody who was a little bit bigger than I was. You know, we were like 50 people. I wanted to find, there was a guy down the road, literally 15 minutes away, who had about 200 people. I'm like, he'll have lunch with me. This guy whose book I read, Acuff, won't have lunch with me. Yeah. Like, you weren't around then doing what you're doing. But like, you know, the people you read won't have lunch with you. But this guy, Doug was his name. He'll have lunch with me. So we got to know each other. And then I started to get asked. Like our church started to grow almost immediately. And I spoke at a regional denominational event, and I produced like this, it's still like 8.5 by 11 stapled together sheet on, it was a manual on something. And there was a guy who led the largest church in our denomination who read it, and he called me and he said, I want to find out what you're doing. And we became friends, and he became a mentor of mine. And that was like, I was in my early 30s and when that happened. And like, I was always hungry for more. And then the internet came along, you know, because of that era where I remember pre-internet. And I started following people online. And lo and behold, here we are all these years later. Most of those people are my friends now, which is really cool. But, you know, sitting at the back of like the Global Leadership Summit where you speak, I used to go there and sit in the back row and just take notes. And I would never have any thought that, you have a hope that maybe one day I'll meet. Like, I just came from lunch with Patrick Lencioni.
Yeah.
And the first time I ever saw him, you know, was at the Global Leadership Summit.
Yeah.
And now I'm having lunch, he and his wife and my wife, and, you know, it's just amazing. But it doesn't start that way. Like, you don't go up to Pat at the GLS and say, hey, you want to have dinner on Friday night? Because it's probably going to be a no. Yeah. But you just, you know, help enough people, and eventually it's amazing the circles you get in.
Do you feel like, what are some of those steps in between? You're right, because I think there's a lot of people that listen to this podcast that have goals, and maybe it's to start a business, maybe start a podcast, write a book. They're at some of the beginning stages. What do you say to somebody that's at the beginning? Maybe they are on the back row. They're frustrated that the stage feels a long way or the podcast feels a long way. What are some of the things in the middle that you say to encourage them?
Well, I would say, first of all, I had it a lot easier because it was pretty much impossible for me to think I'm going to have lunch with Patrick Lencioni.
Right.
Like, it's just like,
so that didn't cross your radar.
Well, it's like, no, I'm going to read his books. I'm going to listen to him talk.
Yeah.
But I think social media has made that a lot harder because you can get into someone's DMs. You have that artificial intimacy where, you know, I'm sure you get this as a podcaster and, you know, as a frequent speaker and author. When people meet you for the first time, they're caught up on your life. Yeah. And they're like, how are the girls?
Or they'll say, like, I heard, how did you get a new hot water heater? Because I had posted about that.
Exactly.
Like, I did. Who told? I was like, oh, I told you. Like, I thought that was riveting. Like, that had to be on Instagram.
100%, right? Or it's like, oh yeah, you really are across from the Franklin Theater. I saw that. Yeah. So we have this like false intimacy now, and that's just the way life is. That's how it operates. So I think what that does is it creates impatience. And it creates like almost an entitlement. Like, I'm one of your many followers, and you know, and almost this sense that you can go from 0 to 60 in 2.3 seconds in terms of your circle, your relationship, your book sales, etc. I was telling you at dinner the other night, one of my favorite pictures is you sitting alone at that Catalyst event. Oh, yeah. To the breakout that nobody came to. Yeah. 100%. Right? Like, that is still how leadership works. Yeah. Right? My first book is still sitting on my shelf. It was a guide for lay preachers, and I never published it. I went to like Kinko's and got it printed out, and it's Surlocks bound, sitting on a shelf. I don't know why I thought about that. I haven't thought about that in years, right? So I think there is like, even you follow a guy like Alex Hormozy. Yeah. You know, you look at pictures of him 10 years ago. Yes, he's a monstrous success, but that's a decade in the making. Yeah. And a lot of hard times. So I think that's the part that we forget, and the part that is easy to forget because of the environment we're in. And AI makes that even faster because suddenly, you know, you don't just have to Google well. You can get an instant, almost expert answer on anything, anywhere.
Right away.
So it's that, what would you call it? There's false intimacy. Is it like false immediacy? You want to call it that?
False immediacy.
False immediacy. This is going to happen for me.
The pace.
Overnight.
Well, I think, too, there's this idea of you don't see all the boring stuff. Like, you see the finished thing. Like, I said in a book once, if I showed you the process, you would be so bored. Like, because some days I get up and I try to create lists of words I haven't used in books. And I'm like, to freshen up the, like, because book whatever, 13, like, you've told a lot of stories. And you're like, have we told this story? I'm curious from your perspective, like, I can think of a time where I was entitled, and it was, I asked Greg McEwen the author of Essentialism, he was on Tim Ferriss's podcast, and I was like, oh man, I want to be on Tim Ferriss's podcast.
Doesn't
so
everybody?
I texted him, I was like, hey, how did you do that? And I was hoping he'd be like, oh, these 2 buttons, I'll get you on today. And
Let me text Tim. Yeah.
He was like, do you want to know the process I used over the 6 months? I was like, oh, that's right. There was work involved. And I was thinking there wasn't work involved. Can you think of a time where you got around a leader, you got around somebody maybe you looked up to and thought like, oh, I can do the thing they do. And they go, oh, here's how I do it. And you go, oh my, like, and maybe it's podcasting for you. Like you look at what a real top tier podcast takes and can you think of a time where
that's a
happened?
Great question where there was such a gap. I mean, one of them is I remember the first time I met Craig Rochelle, and it was probably 20 years ago in 2005. I was at a multi-site summit in Chicago, and it was a big room, but it was a small group.
So 20 years ago, 2005?
20 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah. And I had been tracking with Life Church, and I went up to him, and there was some kind of like lunch in the back around round tables for like 20 or 30 leaders. And long story short, I just went up and I said, can I have lunch with you? And so he and Amy were there, and I had lunch with him, and I think I kind of blew the lunch. Like, I don't know. What do you talk about, right? I wasn't ready.
Did you come with questions?
No.
You just came with Carrie.
I just came with me. And I probably talked about myself too much.
Yeah.
And so that was cool, but I didn't do anything to follow up.
Yeah.
And then I started writing. I started blogging. So now fast forward 7 years. And back in the day of blogging, 2012, 2013, you could write something, you'd be number 1 on Google by lunch. Yeah. Like it was magic. And Craig started reading my stuff, had other leaders forward it to him. We reconnected. Now we become friends, and I'm going to see him next week.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's great, but that's 20 years in the making. And there's so much, and I think the lesson in that for me is I had to add a lot of value to a lot of people's lives before it came to the point where we could text back and forth and say, well, let's just do the podcast. We'll do it at Life Church. Like it just took a long time. And that would be interesting I know this is your show. I usually ask the questions, but like, when you think about us, because there were a lot of people in that circle, like when you left Ramsey and you started on your own, we were through mutual friend, often in the same room together, but you were in the same room with a lot of people that you didn't stay connected with. That I haven't stayed connected with. Sure. So I'm looking at that. I always admired you. I thought you were the funniest, like non-comedic
I appreciate that.
talent. And I have this, like, I'm in awe of comedians. I think they're amazing.
Oh yeah, me too.
I don't know how they do what they do. And you're always doing it. We always had a good time, but like, I realized that there was a lot more depth. And then we, would chat behind the scenes and it's like swap numbers, then text from time to time. Then years ago, I don't remember how long ago, we set up that phone call that we do pretty regularly. And we'll see each other 2 or 3 times a year. And
we live a long way from each other.
We do.
You live in Toronto. I live in Nashville.
Yeah. So it's not easy. So I wonder what makes that work. It's a great question because I haven't kept that up with everybody that was in that circle 10 years ago.
I think part of it is you do sense like you're connected to people that you respect, that are hungry, that are humble. Like you have your filter. I think that high performing people, and if you listen to a goal podcast, you're high performing by nature because low performers don't listen to this
They're not listening to this.
Like high performing people have a filter they use for what they do with their time, what they do with their relationships. I mean, that, the book I've read of yours most recently, At Your Best, has a lot of filter language. Like, here's an opportunity. Here's how to prioritize. Here's what my green zone looked like versus my yellow zone. So I think a lot of it's filters. What are some of the filters as you kind of enter this next season? Because you've had multiple transitions, like lawyer to pastor to podcaster to leader of leaders. As you think about the next season, what are the filters you personally use for opportunities, for, this person I'm going to follow up with, or like this person is, they're doing it and I want to do it too when I'm around them. So I'm going to carve out, because your time's nobody's time is cheap, but what are the filters you use?
So one of the filters that's coming up a lot is I just turned in the first draft of my next book, and you're writing books like on the regular. I've only done 5. This will be number 6, not including the one I talked about earlier. But I am thinking more and more about deep work. I really believe Cal Newport and Tim Ferriss, speaking of Tim Ferriss, had a really interesting conversation last year or the year before about zigging when everybody else is zagging. Like everybody else is going to shorter form content. Podcasts are becoming TV shows. And hey, I just shot 12 of them. Yeah. Okay. So in a real studio, that kind of thing here in Nashville. But I realized that the short attention span, even at my age, we're a decade apart, I'm a decade older than you, is really impacting me. I had to reteach myself how to read books 2 years ago.
Yeah.
I did 12 years of university, man. I remember admin law was like 800 pages of reading, and my study notes were 72 pages long.
Oh my gosh.
It's single spaced. It was like, am I going to pass? And I did, but it was brutal. So I know how to read a book, but I'd been so addicted to my phone and short form content that I found my attention span wandering. So there was that. And then I trained myself how to reread again. I read a book I thought I would like, The Hidden Life of Trees. That was a lot of fun. And then read a really tough one. And I'm like, okay, I'm back. But then there was like, well, I could use AI to write this book. And it's on AI.
Yeah.
So what do I do?
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, I'm going to make myself write 50,000 words that came from me. And I used AI as like Google to help.
Yeah.
But I didn't write the book. I wrote the book. And my goodness, that was really tough, but I really enjoyed it. I think that's going to be a superpower. So I'm very interested in people. I was saying to my counselor, like, I want to learn mastery in my 60s, having just turned 60. And I think about like Japan and, there's that movie, I'm going to pronounce the name wrong, but Gyro Dreams of Sushi. Have you seen that? Or Hero Dreams of Sushi? It's like one guy who spent his entire life just, you're 49 years old, you're still learning how to do the rice.
Yeah. I think you apprentice on the rice for like 5 years or something.
You do.
Crazy.
Like you got to get rice down and then you have to do this. It's the best sushi in the world, apparently. And he does it every day, obsessively. Yeah. That's what the Japanese are like. And I'm like, okay, I want to become somebody who can think at a really deep level because I think that's going to be scarce. So I want to get around people like that. Like you do that work. You guard your green zone, right? That best prime time you have in the morning. We're not doing breakfast meetings. Yeah. We're just focused in, dialed in, learning new skills, trying to figure out 50 words. I want to be around people like that because I think there's AI slop in video. There's going to be a lot of AI slop in writing. And even if the AI writing is as good as humans, I wonder if there's a market. It's sort of like, are you buying a print or are you buying the original? Because a printed Picasso, you can buy for like $10 to $1,000. You can get it at the mall. Yeah. You can get it, you can get it on Temu for like whatever. Exactly. Right? And you hang it on your wall and everyone knows it's not a real Picasso, but that's okay. It costs you $10. Yeah. The real Picasso, that's going to be millions, right? The real Rembrandt, that's priceless. So I think like cognitively, we could go into an era of cognitive decline, not talking about like Alzheimer's or anything, but just like your brain gets lazy and you got to train it. It's like your body gets lazy. You eat, but you don't work out. Yeah. So the same thing can happen in terms of content. So I'm very interested in, on my schedule, carving out more time for deep work and then getting around people who are really, who use AI and, hey, it's good for marketing. And look, I did this funny video. That's cool. But like who are really saying, no, I'm going to zig when everybody else is zagging and I'm going to go deep.
I want to figure out, if you label your 60s as mastery, let's go 20, 30, 40, 50. Like if you had to put a word, because now you can reflect and go, because I'm about to turn 50. We're recording this like a week before my birthday.
Happy birthday,
so I'm thinking about that decade. If you label your 60s as mastery, what would you label your 50s and then your 40s as?
Interesting. Okay. So John Eldridge has some good stuff on this. So I'm going to give him a hat tip. But I would say in your 20s, you're primarily learning, you're absorbing. And I think you want to keep your options open. Yeah. So I did, like, just going back on my life, in my 20s, I had a lot of open doors. My dad and mom ran a company. Dad wanted me to take it over. But I'm like, I can't do the math of tool and mold. Like, it's just not how my brain works. And I said, I think I could run the office, but I don't understand the shop. And he was doing precision injection molding. So that was kind of out. But like I, was kind of interested in the family business and that was cool. But then I was also writing, this is weird, a syndicated column. That sounds more interesting than it is, for a local chain of newspapers northwest of Toronto. And it was just like my take on politics and I would write it And it was a lot of fun. It was just a little column back when newspapers were a thing. Plus, I was doing radio.
Did that warm you up for blogging?
I think so. Yeah, I was always interested in writing.
Yeah.
And it was sort of political satire at the time or commentary.
Yeah.
And it's like, what's a 19-year-old kid, 21-year-old kid doing writing a column in a local newspaper? But like they would take it.
Yeah.
And I wrote it and, it was on a typewriter and I'd send it in. And then I was doing radio, which was like a lot of fun. And then I did a liberal arts degree, history and political science, and then went to law school.
Okay.
Met my wife, really enjoyed that. Felt a call into ministry, but finished up law, worked for a year in downtown Toronto, and they threw me into court. And like I got to use my courtroom skills, which was really fun. And they threw me in the deep end. Like the partners just said, okay, you're going to go to court, go win. Like that was the instruction.
That was the directive.
That was the instruction.
Okay.
And I mean, I learned, I studied civil procedure, but you're just in there and there's a judge and there's the opposing side. And it's like, you learn quick.
I bet.
So I learned that. And then felt a call to ministry, went to seminary, and then ended up by the time I was 30. So in your 20s, what am I doing? Yeah. I'm trying a bunch of different stuff.
So like experimenting, would that be your 20s?
Yeah, experimenting, learning, absorbing, getting good fast at a number of things. Yeah. And you're really looking at all your options, but you don't have to make a decision on a career. Now, maybe you're clear. If I was staying in law, I would have made a decision on a career and then I would have gotten really good in litigation. I just loved it. Civil litigation was a lot of fun. That was great. I loved arguing. I loved being in court. I loved winning. So I probably would have made that a specialty, but boom, here I am.
Do you think that people in their 20s put too much pressure to have the thing figured out in your 20s?
Probably. Yeah. Okay. And you don't know, like, you sitting here on the dawn of 50, me sitting here just having passed 60. Yeah. If it's like 20-year-old Jon Acuff, what are you doing with your life when you're 50?
Oh, yeah, no.
People would have laughed you out of the room.
No, yeah.
Yeah, no. And you would have been like, that's inconceivable.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't have thought that. I just think hearing you say that about how, like, the variety, the two things I hear in your 20s are try a lot of things, and you don't have to know. You're going to try a lot. You're still leaning into them, but also a handful of those are going to serve you in your 30s, 40s, 50s. Like, you being on radio, you don't have to be a genius to be like, that probably helped with podcasting.
And it helped with courtroom work because radio is, you got to make it up on the spot, right? Yeah. It wasn't scripted back then. There were no AI DJs. Yep. So literally you had a clock and you knew you had to hit the time, like the hour right at the top.
Yep.
You had to talk over top of records, get enough commercials in, all that stuff. So it was all ad lib. Yeah. Time, tune, and temperatures back in the day.
So 20s is experimenting.
Yep.
30s
then
is
30s
refining?
was refining and really understanding growth. How do you grow as a person? Our church grew pretty explosively in my 30s. Maybe you're married, maybe you're settling down, maybe you're having kids at that point. I had kids in my 20s. I was married at 25, dad at 26. So, our kids were in their prime, but that's where you're really developing your skills and you probably let a few options go. But it's weird. People would ask me when I started ministry, do you ever use your law? And for years I said the answer is no. And now if you ask me the question, I'm like, I use it every day. Yeah. Not because I'm litigating, not because I'm reading contracts, but because it taught me so much about how to think critically, how to argue a case, how to cross-examine. So those are very handy skills in everything from interviewing to writing to whatever. So you're using those skills and now you're developing them, you're growing. And that's probably where you're going to see some career jumps, right? You start in the stock room and suddenly you're in the C-suite by the time you're 39. Yeah. Right. So that can happen in your 30s and you really want to get good at what you do. And then your 40s, I would say that's where Arthur Brooks talks about moving from fluid to crystallized intelligence. So I remember around 42, our church grew a lot, but we had people leaving. And every time somebody left, it felt like a new case. Felt like, oh, the Acuffs are gone. Wow. Why? Okay.
We hated your puppet ministry. Okay? If you're asking Carrie, Canadian puppet scene, terrible.
Well, because it's bilingual, it takes twice as long to
French
get through the
puppets,
skit.
Noah in French by some weird lady in a denim dress. It was terrible. I didn't want to say it, but I set this whole podcast up to finally break that truth.
There you go.
So
Here we are.
Yeah.
Thanks for the intervention.
Yeah.
So,
your wife's right outside. She's coming in. She knew this was going to be hard. Tony, come on in. It's time he deals
I'm about
with
to
this.
sob.
I'm
about to sob. But, I remember being around 42 and I'm like, oh, this is just like the last time somebody left. And I started to connect the dots. And that's what Arthur Brooks in his book, Strength to Strength, that came out a few years ago. He says you move from fluid to crystallized intelligence. Fluid is like, I'm the best French horn player. I'm the best writer. Yeah. I'm the best. And now it's like, oh, I see the patterns. And you and I joke, like we do the same thing. We just look for patterns and it's like, here's what you're not seeing. Because that's what I do in mine. I was talking to John Christ and he's like, we basically have the same job. He says, I just notice things and I make jokes about them. You notice things, but you do it from a serious perspective.
With steps and help.
With steps and help and all that stuff. So that's what I'm doing. I'm noticing all day. And that really opens up in your 40s. So that's when Brooks says you go from the hotshot attorney to maybe thinking, I'm going to become one of the managing partners. Right? Because now I can train the next generation of litigators. I can navigate this, equity problem we have with some of the partners and got enough reps. So you really get into your prime in your 40s where you're picking a lane and all those options in your 20s got a bit narrower in your 30s. By the time I was in my 40s and your stage right at the end, I'm like, I'm only really good at a couple things. In my 20s, I thought I was amazing at a lot of things. By my 40s, I'm like, well, I can talk, I can cast vision, I can write. It's a pretty short list, right? Then your 50s, what I found is you've kind of picked a lane, and this is where it really starts to soar. So that's when I stepped away from day-to-day ministry. And in my case, that's where I started blogging, podcasting. I launched my podcast, I think I was 49, wrote my first book at 44.
Oh, that's so encouraging.
So it was late,
for everyone
right?
here who feels like, by 27, I have to have written a book.
Yeah. And you see those people who have 2 million Instagram followers at 27 or whatever. They're unicorns. Like, they're an N of one. Yeah. So you're not probably going to be like that. And it's not too late. But I could take my crystallized intelligence I had. Probably if I started my if I had the kind of, online footprint and quote success that I have today when I was in my 30s, I think I would have train wrecked my life.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think I had the character to really be able to handle that kind of being well known.
No. I mean, I had that moment. Like, I couldn't. Like,
right.
I couldn't. No. It's interesting you say that because how many downloads is your podcast now? Because if somebody hasn't listened to it,
I think we're like audio. We're probably pushing 40 million, and it's about 450,000 a month is what my team tells me.
Yeah.
So that's like 5-6 million a year.
Yeah.
A year. So it's crazy. Yeah, we're pretty amazed.
Yeah, and you should be. So 50s though, you decide, okay, I'm going to do the podcast. If somebody is on the edge of trying something different, like how do you nudge them to try it? Or what is your kind of, because I have my handful of things when somebody says to me, I'm 48, I'm 38, I want to try this. I have kind of the recipe I give them. What's your recipe for somebody that's about to start?
I would say, don't make it all or nothing. I think a lot of the time, I mean, you're the guy who's given so much counsel on side hustle. And I think that's really good counsel. It's like, if you want to start a podcast, don't quit your day job, especially if you're relying on that income. Don't quit your day job. Do it in the margins. So when I started my podcast, and even when I was blogging, when blogging was a thing, that blogging was done before 8 a.m. I was part of the 5 a.m. club. Yeah. And then 8 a.m. I started my day job, made sure my sermons were excellent. Like, my day job can't suffer. Yeah. This is just fun to keep me out of prison and, keep me from burning out. It was actually, ironically, it was an anti-burnout strategy I had. I need to do something other than work that's fun. Yeah. Writing is fun for me, so I'm going to just write this blog. And then all these people showed up. And then I love having great conversations. I think I'm just going to start doing this. And literally, I started my podcast for under $1,000 of gear. Oh, that's great. It was basically a good microphone and some free software. Yep. Couple of, I had to get a mixer and that kind of thing, hire a producer. And, it got pretty good instant traction. Now, it's definitely built over the years. Sure. But, I just started. And at first, I was like, I don't know if this is going to be a thing or not. Actually, I had tried it. I almost never talk about this, but I had tried a version of the podcast back in I started the pod in 2014. In 2013, I tried a video version. It probably lived on the internet until very recently. And what did I call it? I called it something Friday. But on Friday, I did 5 episodes. and I did a video interview on, I think it was Skype or something, like really early days. It was grainy.
Yeah.
And I put it up, and it was the worst performing content I did. But I think I was early to the video game.
Yeah.
And it wasn't very good. And it was 20 minutes because everybody told me 20 minutes, people have no attention span. And it just never took off. So I'm like, okay, well, I guess my foray into podcasting failed. But I couldn't shake the idea. And then I thought, well, if I do audio, that's reproducible. And also, all the advice I was getting was people have short attention spans. You can't do a long podcast. I'm like, and there was nobody doing long podcasts in the church leadership space at the time, other than maybe Catalyst.
Yeah.
That was it. And I'm like, well, I love this in the business space, and no good conversation I've had is ever 12 minutes. It's always longer.
Yeah.
If you're going to really draw somebody out,
insight.
if you're really going to draw, like if I'm in a green room,
Yeah.
you know, if I'm having lunch with somebody, if we're having dinner, that's not a 27-minute interaction. It's
You don't
always
go, thanks for
longer.
coming by. This has been a delightful 12 minutes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm just going to make it 40. And then it went 45 and then an hour. And now I don't care. I don't have an end.
Yeah.
And a lot of them are an hour, hour and a quarter, because it was like, that was a good convo.
Sure.
Some of them are 2.5 hours. I was like, that's fine. Right? Sean Ryan does long shows. Joe Rogan does 3.5 hour shows. So I kind of brought that to the church space. And now there's lots of interview podcasts out there. But that was an experiment. And it really works. So I would say, you know, don't quit your day job. Experiment. See how it goes. And I'm often wrong. I wish blogging was still a thing. Sure. My team's like, you got to do more video, It's like, okay, so I'm doing a lot more video. But you just got to experiment, and you got to be open and creative, because I think a lot of the time it's like, well, I tried podcasting and it didn't work. I tried an email list and it didn't work. You and I have talked about email lists and how important they are.
Forever. For like a decade.
And they still are.
Yeah. Yeah. And people still go, it's over. Like, nobody does email. I'm like, well, people who want to sell stuff do email. And I, as an author, happen to want to sell stuff.
Do you enjoy making money? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
It's this weird thing
it's
I have
helpful to
about
pay your
wearing
team.
pants. Like, I'm a big pants guy. Like, everybody knows that about me. In Nashville, they're like, there's John in pants. And it's because I have an email list. So, yeah, I think about that a lot. I'm curious. You mentioned the zig when other people zag, or zag when other people zig. What would you say if I said, okay, Carrie, what are some of your counterintuitive thoughts, or and maybe the question is, in the last year, you've said something on a reel that people were like, what? Or it got traction. Like, one of mine would be, like, I always preach against, like, go big or go home, because the reality is most people go home. So when I say go small, like, even though
kind of what I was saying,
here's what it says on the internet, I'm kind of the opposite of that. Or what's something that you go, oh man, the Carrie Newhoff, countercultural, counterintuitive, like the hill I die on, a hot take, whatever phrase you want to use. What are some that in the last year, or maybe at your core, you're like, no, whenever I get somebody that asks me what I really believe, this is what I say.
So one of the things I'm seeing, because my world is sort of church world right now, I try to help pastors, is there's a lot of talk of revival. So if you're a church person, you probably heard like Gen Z's on fire. Yeah. It's amazing. All these young people coming to church. And my counterintuitive is Gen Z is in revival and retreat at the same time.
Both things are happening.
Both things are happening.
Yeah.
So on the micro, there's a surge in church attendance. It's now measurable. On the macro, we're losing more Gen Z than we're gaining. So that really strikes me. The other thing that's really I'm thinking about a lot right now is, and this has societal implications, you know, the weird uncle at Thanksgiving, the conspiracy theory uncle, that kind of thing. Why is that happening? And what I found this year is pastors can't win. And anybody, if your company has to make a statement, you can't win. Yeah. So after like a Charlie Kirk incident, you know, as tragic as it was, all the leaders I talked to, no matter what they did, they didn't get it right. They said too much. They said too little. Yeah. They prayed, but they didn't speak. They spoke, but they didn't pray.
Is there a right, though? Like with something like that, is there a landing you can stick, or is that impossible?
I think in the past there was. I think you could say we all need to acknowledge how tragic this was, and regardless of your personal views, we need to lift up the family.
Yeah.
And to me, that still makes sense.
Yeah.
But what happened was a lot of people, if they said that, it's like, yeah, but you didn't come out and endorse what he said.
What aboutism?
What aboutism? What about?
9 years ago, this other thing happened, and you never said anything.
And you never said anything. And why did you talk about Charlie Kirk, but you didn't talk about this person?
Yeah.
And then so there were people, because there was, it's a bad week, but a sad example, but there was a subway stabbing that week.
Yeah.
And then there was another incident that week. So it's like, okay, well, I'm going to talk about all three incidents. Why are you talking about that and not paying attention to
you're not,
Charlie Kirk?
And then this thing happened in Bangladesh.
And you ignored that.
Where does that end? You just read the news?
So I'm about, why is that happening? Mm-hmm. And J.D. Greer helped me think through that. And you know what it is? It's, if you want to use a churchy word, it's discipleship by algorithm. It's training by algorithm. So everybody watching or listening to this podcast has spent 49 hours this week on their phones, according to stats. Mm-hmm. And the thing about your Instagram and my Instagram is it's the same app, totally different experience.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I could be in wormhole conspiracy theories on YouTube while you're trying to figure out how to fix your car.
Yeah.
Right? And so you're getting fed all that. So when you gather a crowd, even say of 100 people, right? Viewers, listeners, watchers, customers, whatever that is, congregation, you got 100 people. You have 100 different 49-hour experiences coming in to your gathering.
Yeah.
And this guy's like in
or
the
your
right...
company.
Or your company, yeah.
Or your anything.
Somebody's in a mega wormhole.
Yeah.
Somebody else is super progressive, on the other side. Somebody else is really into organic everything. I was at a restaurant here at lunch, and somebody was asking, do you have any cutlery and silverware? Sorry, that's a Canadian term.
Yeah.
Silverware.
I figured it out.
We know the
word cutlery down here in America.
You're pretty astute guy.
Don't be using your fancy Canadian words on us, like cutlery. What? Gary.
With a bilingual.
So good, yeah.
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about.
You know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So he goes, yeah, it's right here. And it was right in front of me, but it was a little plastic set. And she just looked at him and says, I don't use plastic. Kind of like, what are you going to do for me?
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm sorry, that's all I got. And she's like, well, I guess I'm going to have to figure it out.
Yeah, like a fast food. What kind of?
Yeah, I was at a coffee shop, actually, come to think of it. It was a coffee shop. It was honest coffee at the factory.
Yeah. And so they wanted that.
This person.
Where do we draw the ridiculous line, though?
Yeah, I don't use plastic. Well, and then she said,
don't go to coffee shops.
She said out loud, I guess I'll have to use my hands.
Like some sort of animal. I'll use these appendages. Dude, fine. I'm fine with you being like, hey, 49 hours. Everybody's algorithm is different. Some people are dumb. Like, we need to be able to say, like, there's the clip. There's 49 hours of experience. We're all unique unicorns, whatever. Also, some people are dumb.
Right.
That was
and so
dumb...
now we're bored. we're boycotting. All it takes is a goal.
I just lost that listener. Fine. If I just lost here, let me talk directly to the camera. If I just lost the cutlery crew, farewell. I don't want to bye. Get out of here with your fingers, or it has to be metal. And again, at the coffee shop, it's one thing if you were at a 5-star dining experience and they go, here's a plastic fork, madame.
Then I want my money back.
Yeah, and you go, what do I don't use
How am I going to cut the filet mignon with a plastic?
Gosh. Did you drive a plastic car to that coffee shop? You did.
Your car has no bumpers.
This just became really ranty. But okay, so back to like, people have different views.
So anyway, you got the person who will not use plastic.
Yeah.
You've got MAGA people, progressive people, moderate people, extreme environmental people.
Sure.
You have some people who don't care about the environment. They're all listening to your message.
Yeah.
And
remember, not the cutlery people anymore. They booted.
They're gone.
Booted.
They're gone.
Put that in the review.
So 7 hours a day of that. And then you're like, we're all in favor. Let's eat. Boom. It's like, whoa, that's plastic in his hands.
Yeah.
We're done. So that's why you can't win.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to figure out because I'm just sort of surfacing the problem. And I've shared it with a few leaders, and they're like, oh, we're going there. We're going to spend a month on the algorithm and how it's retraining our minds. But that's why even your book and the reviews, right? You're going to get some real whacked out reviews on your book, more so than you would have a decade ago.
Oh, yeah.
Because now those, everything's monetized to be extreme. Extreme wins, negative sells.
Yeah.
So your algorithm is trying to drive you into more and more extreme content. and you have to be very disciplined about resisting it. So, yeah, it's funny. I hadn't thought about that until I mentioned it. It's like, oh yeah,
that's an amazing.
I don't use plastic.
But so my point with that is like, if you're a leader, is the answer you just get comfortable with you're gonna have a smaller conversation because people are fragmented and they're gonna go find somebody that speaks exactly to them, and something like in the sense that like when Elvis was on the Ed Sullivan Show, he was on 1/3 of the televisions because there were 3 channels, and you could say Elvis was Elvis because there weren't a lot of other people. Michael Jackson was like that. Taylor's unique because she's still been like that in a fragmented world. What's on the other side of that? Is it that you have your Carrie lane and I have my John lane and a listener has their lane?
Well, that's kind of what's happening, right? We're becoming really stratified, which is not good for society. Mm-hmm. Society works because you and I agree we drive a certain direction on the street.
Social constructs.
This is how we park. Social constructs, right?
You didn't punch me when you saw me today.
Right. Exactly. I didn't break into your house last night and go, this is mine.
No.
Right? But you see that even like to the point where the first time I was in Australia or England, I'm like, what is wrong with people? And I realized they drive on the other side of the road, but they walk on the other side of the street. So if you're walking down a sidewalk, right, what do you do generally in America? You walk on the right and you let the other people pass.
That's part of why we left, by the way.
You left Australia?
We left England because of that. Like, we were like, nope. Nope. Made our own country. Worked out pretty well, to be honest with you.
So it's things like that, all these unwritten rules, right? But if I really can't trust you and I don't like you and I think everybody else is crazy, I think part of it as a leader is whatever you're doing in your company or whatever organization you run, you just realize whatever I say, I'm going to make some people mad.
Yeah,
I get it. So I want to be true to my convictions. I don't want to pander. I want to be sensitive, and maybe I can get, as many of these moderate perspectives represented as possible.
Yeah.
And then we'll leave it there. The other thing is I hope I can surface this as an idea, at least with my audience, to go, hey, this is what is happening. And then maybe we can start talking about it and go, oh, this is why the uncle is completely convinced about the conspiracy theories or about UFOs or UAPs or whatever we're calling them these days. Mm-hmm. That's okay. That's just 7 hours a day of that. Yeah. This is how he's going to behave at Thanksgiving. So maybe it gives us a little more empathy. I think even better is if we can get to the point where as a culture, we're like, blow the whistle. This is crazy.
Like what I did with the cutlery.
Exactly.
I really changed some lives today.
You did.
I hope that woman watches or listens to this because I helped her. And she has friends that aren't telling her the truth right now.
Your car is...
That's the problem. Her friends are not being honest. She has a friend that tolerates that. Somewhere right now is a Carol or a Tabitha that's like, that's fine.
Well, you know the fun thing? I mean, you know Tony and I quite well. We would generally veer away from plastic if we could too.
Sure.
That's just me.
Sure.
But like I can't imagine saying to somebody, I don't use plastic. Like that to me crossed a line.
At your coffee shop.
At a coffee shop. What do you think you're going to get?
It's ridiculous. So, okay, so that's
I haven't polished the silverware, sorry.
That's one of your ideas you're surfacing. Here's one I'm surfacing that I want to get your opinion on. I find that high performers often have the strongest inner critics. Like that there's a correlation. Have you experienced, you've been around a lot of successful people, and where I've seen, like one example I've seen it is, we worked for a bunch of different similar companies, and there were speakers that would speak and they would crush. And then right after, when you'd see them go, you did great, they go, well, I mean, no, there were like 5 things I messed up. I could have done like, have you seen any sort of overlap or correlation between high performance success and high strength inner critics?
Totally. I think that's what pushes you into success. It's what makes, because if you're willing to settle for mediocrity, you're never going to end up doing this or doing what you do or writing books or whatever. I would say there's a healthy and an unhealthy level.
Yeah.
So yes, most universally, most of us who are high performers, or most people who are high performers, have a strong inner critic. I have had that. Like, this is crap or this is great. I have 2 categories. This is crap or this is great. I was awesome. I really crushed it. And here's the thing, right? Like, as a guy who preached at the same church for years, it would be like, what service are we going to use for the internet, for online? And I'd be like, I thought I crushed at 9. And they're like, actually 10:30 was better. Like the opposite of what I thought.
Okay.
So I'm not very good. And then
You're not good at reading your performance?
No.
Okay.
No. No.
Yeah.
And my wife, Tony would say, or you might say, I thought you did great. And I'm like, oh, I got a million reasons why I didn't. Or sometimes I'd be like, whew, I got to cool down. I was so good. Right. And then you're like, yeah, that was fine, Carrie.
Yeah.
That was fine. Yeah. Good job. Thanks for coming out.
That's
right.
funny.
So I don't think I'm a very good judge about that at all. The other thing I have done though, and this took a long time to get over because I talked about, meeting Craig Rochelle in 2004 and I would always get really intimidated in those circles until recently. Right. And I'm still I'm very cognizant of the fact that I'm hanging out with some really cool people who have done great things with their life. But it took some friends of mine to say, you actually belong at that table. They're not inviting you because they feel sorry for you. Yeah. Or because nobody else can come.
We want one weakest link in the room.
Exactly, exactly.
Bring Carrie.
It's you. Carrie, you're the weakest link.
Yeah.
And I had a really hard time doing it. And part of me is because when I get nervous and I don't feel that I belong, I'll either undertalk or overtalk.
Ooh, yeah.
Right? You'll either be
I'll read people my resume. Subtly, but I'll be like, oh,
let me tell you.
New York Times bestseller.
Did I mention how many downloads I have, John? Already? Yeah. New York Times, multiple New York Times bestselling authors. That's right. I'm just a bestselling
So you'll
author.
underplay or overplay?
Overplay. Okay. And I eventually, and I would say this is the last probably 5-10 years, finally listen to my friends enough to go, okay, yeah, this is not a charity initiative. And that gives you a lot more power. Yeah. No, a lot more, that's not the right word, not power, but it gives you a lot more comfort.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, this is I've been in a lot of rooms over my life, from college buddies to friends to family, and you're generally in those rooms because you belong, right? Because you have a good relationship with those people. And now this is the current iteration of the rooms that I'm in.
Yeah.
And it's all right. And so, because you've had that, right, where people meet you. What's a good meet when you meet somebody who's pretty excited to meet Jon Acuff?
Oh, I always tell people I have the best amount of fame because 3 times a week people tell me I'm good at my job. That doesn't happen for accountants.
Yeah.
No one at the airport comes up to an accountant and goes, hey, you don't know me, but you did my taxes last year. And I just want to say, changed my life. That happens to me sometimes. You are a liar if you go, I wouldn't want that. It's amazing. And it's a 30-second to 3-minute interaction. And sometimes it is humbling because I was at the airport and a guy wanted a photo and I was like, sure. And then he walked away and a woman stopped him and was like, who was that? And he goes, oh, it's Jon Acuff. She goes,
Exactly.
And because it was in Nashville, she was hoping to be somebody she'd never heard of, Walker Shelton or I don't know. But so I think for me, that's really fun. But I'm interested from your perspective. So one of the ways you kind of quieted your inner critic was community.
They told me hey, it's okay. You belong here. And now, I've done multiple reps with guests like you on my podcast. And I know you're coming back because you want to be on the show because you enjoy hanging out.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. There's a good audience, but it's fun. So it's getting used to that because otherwise I'm going to fanboy or I'm going to turtle up and neither is particularly helpful. The other thing I would say, talking about advice to leaders is don't assume that this is your only shot. I remember the first time I saw Patrick, in a green room. Yeah. I was like, oh, I'm in the same room with him.
I got to say the right thing.
He's taller or shorter than I thought he was. I got to say the right thing.
Yeah.
And I met him. And, you think that's going to be the life-changing,
that's the
we're
moment.
going to have lunch.
Yeah.
This is the moment. And it went well. But that was it. And it's not like we swapped numbers or anything.
Yeah.
But then I was at another event with him. He's like, yeah, Carrie. Yeah. And now it's great. But those can take years to build. Yeah. And there's another guy I love. His name's Jon Ortberg. And I remember I wrote my first book that I wrote solo was called Leading Change Without Losing It. Just about whole process of change. And I get this email from Jon Ortberg who's or actually it was from a friend, Sue Miller, who said, Jon Ortberg read your book and loves it. Can he have permission to talk to you? I'm like, permission to talk to me? Yes. And my phone number, and this is my address, and this is, you want my social security number? What do you want?
Here's my bank account.
Here's my bank account, I'm like, yes. So we chatted, and I was just blown away. It's like, what is Jon? Because I read his books before, I'll never meet this guy. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, wow, this is amazing. And then he said, I want you to come to my church, and I want you to teach my staff. Well, I was double booked. And I was just crushed. Yeah. I said, I can't. I'm like, this is my one shot. Oh no. You know what? No, it wasn't my one shot.
Yeah.
Wasn't my one shot. So I think I can be all or nothing. Like everything is riding on this interaction. And now when I meet people, and there's still people I'm meeting for, like Arthur Brooks. I just met, this is a name drop session, but I just interviewed Arthur Brooks. It was remotely. And I'm like, Kate probably doesn't remember the first interview. His life has exploded since we talked, etc. He knew exactly who I was. I had a great chat, nice little catch up, nice little post. And I'm like, oh, cool. So the next time is easier.
Yeah.
But again, it's not like, hey, can we do a vacation together? You don't want to overshoot that
Jump
stuff.
levels of intimacy.
You don't jump. That's the way. That's exactly it. That's the language. You don't want to jump levels of intimacy. And I think back to what we were saying earlier with social media, because I know much more about Arthur Brooks than he knows about me. We can jump levels of intimacy, and I think you just got to leave it where it is. And then eventually, over time, it's kind of like investing, right? If you're looking for that, I want that 30% jump in the first month. Well, maybe you get that. You probably don't. Yeah. But 30% over a decade, that's probable.
Yeah.
Yeah. Over 5 years, it's possible.
So to that, you said something interesting about, Arthur Brooks, this is a name drop episode. And I know you're not that way.
I'm glad.
I had lunch with Patrick Lencioni. Like, I know you're not in this moment listing those people because of that. But I think there's a thing at play where we can't be excited about things that happened, even if it's just the thing that happened.
Yeah.
Like, the thing that happened was you ran into Arthur Brooks and had a good conversation. So when you tell me that, it's not bragging. That's the thing that happened. And my concern is, because of social media, we stopped sharing the good things and we only share the bad things because somebody's going to call it a humble brag.
Yeah.
So who in your world, like when you have a win, like we can talk about this publicly. You sold your company. Like, that's a win. Like, that was an amazing win. Or you get a book deal or something small. Your kid called you and had a great conversation and they initiated the call, whatever. Who in your world can you tell the good things without feeling like you got to water it down so they don't get jealous, or change up the language so you don't feel like you're bragging? Like, who's in that circle?
So I don't know that you know this or not. You're in that circle.
Oh, great.
Yeah. Like, you are one of the people who are like, I'm going to celebrate when because things suck sometimes, right?
Yeah.
Like,
and we
really
talk about those.
And we'll talk about those. It's like, it's not good. I got sick earlier this year. That was not fun.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I didn't enjoy it. But like when the company sold or whatever, and so I have a couple of friends who nobody would know who they are.
Yeah.
But like Jeff and Rich, I would reach out to. Frank, I reach out to, Frank.
Frank, yeah.
And I reach out to them, and sometimes, like, I remember the first time, again, more name drops, but we're talking about this world, right, on this podcast. First time I got Seth Godin on my podcast.
Sure.
And he answered yes. I jumped up and down.
Yeah.
I was like a little kid at Christmas.
Yeah.
I'm like, Seth Godin, are you kidding me? I'm getting Seth Godin. This is incredible.
Yeah.
And I texted that to a friend. Hey, just so you know. And they were like genuinely happy.
Sure.
Because you need a friend who's not going to turn it into a humble brag, and someone who's not going to be jealous.
Yeah.
Or if they're jealous, they're like, dude, I'm so jealous. But in the nice way to do that, right? Yeah. Like if you had an epic day with somebody, I can't think of who, I'd be like, oh man, I wish I had that. Yeah. Or like when you spoke at GLS.
Yeah.
I would love to speak at GLS.
Sure.
You've spoken there twice.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I am there for you, buddy.
Oh,
so I think you need that. You need somebody that, and then also the other thing is somebody who understands what that means.
Yeah.
Right? As opposed to, the woman in the airport. Who? John what? Like when I sold my company and we became one of the capital partners for Glue, this company that's bought a number of companies this year, once it was public, I was able to tell more people, and some of them were like, oh, yeah, that's good. They don't have any understanding.
Yeah.
You were like, whoa, that's huge, because what about this and what about that? Yeah. And so you need to have at least one or two friends who can celebrate the highs with you, but who actually understand what that means and what's at stake. Like I remember when you did your latest book deal, you told me about it, and I'm like, that's incredible, because I've had a book deal, not like yours, but like, and you were going back and forth with different publishers.
Sure.
So I think having those peers who are in your corner, they're not a rival, they're just a friend, and they actually understand what's at stake. So when good things happen, bad things happen, they're like, oh, I get that.
Yeah. That's really interesting, because I think that's rare. And I think social media has contributed to the rareness of that.
And when you put it on social, 99% of the people who follow you or who follow me will have no idea what's actually going on because that's not their world.
Yeah.
Right? But I probably, come to think of it, there's at least 5 and maybe up to 7 people that would be in that circle. And you're one of them. And it can't just be your wife.
Yeah. No.
Can't be your dog, can't be your wife.
No, it has to, you have to have that circle because again, I think that's, for me, that's related to the inner critic because it gives it more room. Like if you don't celebrate and admit that good stuff happened, then the inner critic just gets to talk about the bad stuff even louder and louder and louder and louder. Versus when you tell me something good that's happened, I'm now an archivist. I archive that moment for you.
Yeah.
So when you tell me later, oh, here's this thing I'm facing, I go, well, I know you can do it because remember this last thing you did? And you go, oh. And so to me, that's part of what we need too. And I just, humble brag is one of those words for me where it's...
Yeah. And that's why you want somebody who's really fundamentally in your corner. And then this is a phrase I think about a lot the older I get. Somebody who loves you enough to tell you the truth.
Oh, yeah.
Loves you, but will be like, yeah, that is spinach in your teeth. Or no, you really blew it. Like that was not a great talk. That was not your best moment.
Yeah.
But then when you have a great moment, they're like,
you can trust it too.
Crush.
Like when you have a great moment, you can trust it.
You told me something in Dallas. We did this event in Dallas together. And I'm like, oh, wow, Jon actually watched my talk, saw me give the keynote, etc. And I'm like, okay, what's the feedback? Any feedback? He goes, yeah, I think your slides could be better. They're not graphic enough and the font is small. You probably don't remember that.
Yeah.
But I went back and guess what? Our slides are way better thanks to Jon Acuff. Well, we've redesigned them a couple times since then. But that's a true friend. I don't want you blowing smoke. But when there is something to celebrate, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's such an interesting thing. Okay, we'll go with a couple more questions. I could talk for hours, and we do when we get on the phone.
Yeah.
The first one is, what's on your Mount Rushmore of books that you recommend? Or, if that's too hard to answer, what's the book you've given away more than any other than your own? Like you've given away At Your Best more than any other.
I have. Yeah. Two that really spring to mind that are not particularly well known. One of Jim Collins' books turns out to be his favorite, but nobody ever talks about it. How the Mighty Fall. He wrote it about 15 years ago. It's super short. It's like barely 100 pages. The black one.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like all these because you look at the world's top companies 30 years ago and the world's top companies today.
Circuit City was in Good to Great.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it's, the pride, the hubris born of success. It's the undisciplined pursuit of more. And I reread that book every once in a while because if you had a life that like yours has gone maybe a little bit better than you thought it would, and you just got to remember, man, the moment I get proud, the moment I get like, I got to be so careful.
Can you tell when somebody's like, I have a friend who calls it the glaze. Like I met him maybe 15 years ago and he's super successful. And he goes, you don't remember meeting me because you had the glaze. He's like, you were glazed over with the stuff that was happening for you. You were lost in it. And he was right. And he loved me enough to say that as you're not currently under the glaze.
Yeah.
So
but you're caught up in
like,
yourself.
what's your radar when you meet a young leader, an old leader, or whatever, where you go, oh, this is a slow, like there's a train wreck coming. I don't have the relationship to tell them. Like
a hunger that isn't a hunger, it's a neediness. I see a neediness there that I can kind of smell out. I'm an Enneagram 8. And if I sense like a desperation, not so much, and you got to be more, there's a saying that I really love more and more. The work is the reward.
Yeah.
The work is the reward.
Yeah.
Like you've just finished up your next book. It's probably ready, probably being typeset right now or whatever. Like you don't know how many copies that's going to sell.
I don't control that either.
You do not control it. You can do a good marketing campaign. You can get on the right podcast.
I try to every time, but it turns out
it doesn't work. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
It's either going to float or not. And so for me, I want the work to be the reward. Like I've done some great interviews here over the last few months, been a guest and also done some. And like, I don't know whether they're going to kick on YouTube or not. I have no idea, but I had a really great hour and a half, 2 hours.
And you prepared the way that is your definition of prepared.
I did.
Like you went in and said the Carey Nieuwhof definition of prepared and honoring this person. I did that. So I feel great about that.
Absolutely. I think the work is the reward. And sometimes when the person is just like in a green room, they want to get around the most important person in the room and they're kind of talking past you. It's like,
you can tell that.
Yeah, John. So tell me about Jeannie, your wife. Jenny, sorry, Jenny. They're looking past you because John Maxwell's right over there.
I've been in some rooms where I was having a conversation and people were talking and an important person came in the room and you become invisible.
You do.
Everybody, I'll tell you off air a specific example, but I've been in those. I'm curious, is Tony, your wife, Tony, is she somebody else too that will pull your side? Because my wife, Jenny, she is to me and go hey, that person, we're not doing business deals with that person. There's from a discernment.
I think Jenny's probably, because we talked about this at dinner, Jenny's probably a little more forward than Tony would be, but she's Tony's a great judge of character, and she'll be like, I'd be really careful about this person. Just in her very understated way.
Yeah.
I'm like, I think I'm going to do a collab with. It's like, I'd be very, I don't think you need to have that person back. I go slow on that one. She'll be like that.
Yeah.
And so that's really good. So if I see the neediness, if I see the glaze, if I see the person, in the dynamic, they're going to the person who has more status than I am, which is not hard to find. I was in a room like that where the biggest leader in the room was already holding court. It was a small breakfast. There were 20 of us, and there was one person who's like, all right, I see my opportunity. I'm going to move in. Now, I would have loved to have had that conversation.
Sure.
And then there was another person in line after that, and I'm like, you know what? I'm not playing that game today.
Yeah.
I'm just going to go and meet somebody else and have a good conversation. And maybe I'll talk to my wife. That would be great, because she was there at that. But I wasn't going to work the room.
Yeah.
Because I thought, this isn't the last time I'm going to be in the room with this person. Yeah. And truthfully, it's not. So I think that kind of eagerness, and I don't think I always played that out well when I was younger, but now it's like, no, play the long game. So when I see that, and then people who really aren't doing the work, they just want the reward.
Yeah.
You do the work. Because I've seen you give the same talk and you're not just like, here we go, right?
Yeah. No,
you're not dusting it off.
I think you're right, because I guarantee people come up to you and go, hey, I want to do a podcast. So what are the steps? And they're asking you a thing you've done for years and years and years and years and years and years, as if you go, okay, takes 3 things and you can do them pretty quickly. By this weekend, you should have a pretty good podcast. Where you never say that to a doctor or a lawyer. You never go, I love arguing, so tell me.
You'll be at the Supreme Court by Thursday.
Yeah, you'll be in there. So I think that is some of that entitlement and the immediacy. The
immediacy, artificial immediacy. Yeah. There's my takeaway word for the last hour. I keep going.
No, How the Mighty Fall is one.
The other one I love. It's so obscure. There's a guy, Henry Nouwen.
Oh, yeah.
Very renowned, died in the 90s.
Can I guess which one you're going to say?
Yeah.
I bet it's going to be different, but is it the Genesee Diary?
It is 100%.
That's it. Come on,
man.
I think I guessed.
Genesee Diaries.
Because I think you told me years ago to read it.
It's the one I tell everybody to read.
Dude, him sorting raisins?
I know.
Rocks out of raisins?
It's so memorable.
Okay, I cut you off out of my excitement.
No. Go ahead and explain what it is.
You explain it.
So Henry Nouwen, and this is absolutely on theme for what we've been talking about, was a Jesuit priest. I think he's Jesuit. Professor, kind of had a career that was rising as an academic. But this is his dark night of the soul. He went to a monastery in upstate New York for 6 months in 1974. My buddy Frank and I want to go to that monastery. Apparently they still sell bread. And he just kind of who am I? Yeah. What is God calling me to do? Why am I so infatuated with success? Why do I want to be known? And you can see him go through this process where basically, what do monks do all day? Well, they brew beer and they make bread, and these guys made bread, and he has to wash raisins, and then Brother Thomas spilled the raisins, and he's got to do them all over again, and then they were moving stones from the creek, and it was hard work, and he was upset that it was too hot or too cold, and it's all these little pedantic things, but in the process of that, a saint, so to speak, is being formed. And he went on to become the Henry Nouwen that we know, and wrote all these books about intimacy with God and loving Jesus and Prodigal Son. And he became this deep spiritual person. But that was his soul being sorted and sifted for 6 months in New York. So Genesee Diaries,
so good.
Highly recommend. Still in print.
2 great recommendations. Carrie, last question. It's an easy one. Where can people find out more about you? Give us the links. We're always very generous with allowing people to share links.
Thank you.
You ever been on a podcast and they give you no chance to share a link?
Yeah, I think that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the work is the reward, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So,
well,
yeah,
but I'd also like more people to listen to your podcast and buy your books.
So we have. You can find my podcast just on YouTube or at wherever you listen. The Carey Nieuwhof Leadership Podcast.
Spell Nieuwhof for us. Don't act like that's
QR. No.
Yeah, it's a silent 7 and then a Y. Yeah, I know. Did you ever think about being Carey Nelson?
Yeah,
as you started to write books, was there a part of you that was like what?
You know, in high school, I almost became Nick Stone. That would have been my word.
Nick Stone.
I don't know. Isn't that crazy?
That's good. You'd have to be a detective. Though.
I would be. Detective Nick Stone.
And you'd be up against Jack Reacher.
my middle name is Nicholas. I don't know why Stone. It was like a radio name or something like that. But no, the nice thing is you can completely misspell my name and find me.
Okay.
So it's Carey.
Yeah.
Nieuwhof is, are you ready for this? Nieuwhof.
Yeah.
It's Dutch. It just means new court.
New court.
And if you go to Holland, all the signs are like new car, new this. It's Nieuw. So it's just the Dutch word for new.
So in Holland, super easy.
I'm an OG.
Man,
how do you say new? What's your name? Carey Nieuwhof. Nieuwhof. Yeah, I got that.
You're like David Hasselhoff over in Holland.
Don't hassle the Hoff.
Yeah, a lot of listeners. You probably get sent tulips constantly.
It's such a problem. And thank you. Please do.
He's
do
wearing
not
wooden
send
clogs
tulips.
right now. You can't see it. It's not. He came in with clogged. He clogged his way in here. I said, we have a social construct where we don't wear clogs in this office. And he was like, I don't even care. I'm Canadian.
If you care about the church too, you can go to theartofleadershipacademy.com. We built a community for about 15,000 church leaders now.
It's crazy.
It's crazy. Yeah, it is. So that's where we are, and would love to follow you back.
Awesome. Well, Carey, this has been fun. I loved how much we laughed on this episode.
It was
I'm not
fun.
Surprised at all because we've done a bunch of podcasts and we're
and
actually
done a
real
lot
friends.
of hanging out. Yeah.
So
yeah. Thanks for having me on, man. This is fun.
We'll have to do it again.
World headquarters from Franklin, and
Right?
we'll have you back.
Right? Yeah.
When's your book come out?
Next one comes out in April. So I will
we gotta jump on that.
I will be trying to bump somebody out of a slot probably in February. Just
Yeah. Well,
heads up.
I would say I think we're 6 months ahead on the podcast.
Yeah, that's where I'm like, can we slide Jon Acuff in? Just a little, like,
we will slide Jon in.
I mean, I'm not saying move Oprah, but like somebody I could hopefully
Oprah's willing to
get
move.
jammed in it. She is.
She's like, it's Acuff.
She is.
Come on,
not,
I'll move.
Dude.
I'll move
she
for him.
She is not. Maybe she is. That'd be very nice. But Carey, thanks for joining me.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening and watching my conversation with Carey Nieuwhof. I hope you had as much fun as I did. We went so many different places. I laughed a ton. I bet you did too. And thank you so much for all the great reviews you write. They're super encouraging. I say it all the time that it's sometimes hard to do a podcast because there's no feedback. But when you leave a review, I get real feedback from real listeners. So thank you. Please keep your reviews coming. Make sure you like, subscribe, or follow whatever it is the kids are saying these days, and keep those reviews coming. I'll see you next week. And remember, all it takes is a goal.